Friends, good afternoon, and we're here today to honour and celebrate and pay tribute to the life of Al Keegan and to express our love and admiration for him on behalf of Al's wife Martina, his children Evie and Seímí, Al's parents, sister Sharon, brother-in-law Sharon, his brother Mark and sister-in-law Kirstin, and Martina's mother and her husband Fred. I welcome you all to this celebration of life. This will mark not only the passing of Al, but to celebrate his life in some small way. It'll also help us to say our final goodbyes to Al, to his physical body at least. We remind ourselves that it is only his body that we're saying goodbye to, because he lives forever in our hearts and in our minds, and in the way that he touched our lives while he was here. I'm privileged to be asked to officiate my capacity as officiant for the Spiritualist Union of Ireland at this ceremony, celebrating his life, and to speak to the legacy and the legend that Al Keegan is for so many. I had the honour of officiating Al and Martina's wedding ceremony back in 2012. Our paths crossed 3 times, meeting Al and Martina to discuss their wedding ceremony, and then we met at Mandy and Ike's wedding last summer. My initial impression of Al was somebody who had a vision for how he wanted that day to go. I know Martina and I, we joked about him being a bridezilla, a groomzilla, because he had an eye for detail, but more importantly, he knew what he wanted to create in terms of an atmosphere for his wedding day and for Martina and for the guests. And that always stands out for me because it's so rare that a groom would have that level of interest in their wedding ceremony. And the one thing that always stuck out for me was their choice of poems and music. I think we all can agree that Al was not the conventional conformist kind. He was very much his own person, and people knew him as such. And one of the poems that they picked was the lovely love story I had never heard, of 2 dinosaurs. Can you believe 2 dinosaurs? And Martina, you of course were the lovely dinosaur, the lovely, lovely dinosaur. And one of the lines that, when I asked Al, why did you pick that particular poem? Like, apart from it being different, why did you pick that particular one? He said there was a line in it that reminded him of Martina, and it was a tribute to her. And here is the line: "For she fills our life with beautiful thoughts and wonderful surprises." They met in 2003, and that's exactly what landed with Al, this beautiful girl who filled his thoughts with beauty and wonderful surprises. And it's not a bit surprising that Al himself was a creator of beautiful surprises for other people and gave them beautiful thoughts that are still with us today. And that struck me about that line when I read that poem. A friend of Al's told me yesterday about a story of a young man that Al spoke to. And the young man had whatever was going on for him, and Al recognised this and he had a conversation with him. And the friend told me that it was much later on that he found out that Al had gone and had a conversation separately and privately with this young man to encourage him. And 2 or 3 different people have told me that same story, that he went out of his way to speak with people, encourage them, to tell them to hold on to their dreams, to be the person that they were to be. He saw the potential in them. And that was a very common thread that came through in everyone I spoke to about Al. Very, very, very rare quality. Today we try and bring some comfort to Al's family and friends. The family and friends who are here today, and the family and friends who join us from the live stream. I know you're all hurt and bewildered and confused by his passing. His wife Martina and his children, his parents and siblings and extended family, and family by marriage, and from what I'm hearing, family by choice, and of people throughout his time on this earth. Al wasn't a particularly religious person in that structured sense, but he had strong beliefs. And so it is befitting that this ceremony should reflect what he is, a loving person to his devoted wife and his family and his friends. I'd like now to invite Sharon to come and give her words. Thank you, Sharon.
Alan, give me strength. When you think of Alan, what colour do you associate with him? We asked so many people this question over the past week, and the overwhelming answer, yellow. Our Mr. Happy, our ray of sunshine, our warm, bright and friendly welcome day. That was Al Keegan. My mother would describe Alan as the best baby ever. Gorgeous little blonde baby. He loved his grub and always used to cry to be put to sleep. And well, some things just never changed. His imaginative combo of Monster Munch crisp sambos and his love for dropping into the shops for a bag o' jellies. Little sweet balls, he'd say as he'd sit on the couch. The words slomp and boshed were used a lot. And he'd always greet a problem with, let's call a spade, and it is what it is. He was wise beyond his years, always had such a mature view on the world. He wasn't fazed by anything, and always kept an open mind, encouragingly replying to people. Yeah, cool man, go for it. It was hard to believe that his age at some times, it was hard to believe his age at times because he has achieved so much. As a son, he was caring and gorgeous, a beautiful looking child. His kind and sensitive nature was a credit to my mum and dad. He was so supportive and loyal, traits both given to him by my parents. He was every bar of my father. His nature, his manner, and his love for music, art and creativity. He was always so positive and kind, always sharing and encouraging. He was super loyal and very protective over his brother Mark. He was even a big brother to me and consoled me at times. He loved his family so much. Alan's love for music was ingrained in his soul. I remember as a kid, him being astonished by the fact that when he watched a film, he would focus so much on the soundtrack, and he heard all the music and the tunes, something that really would go over most people's head, but he could repeat the whole film back in the tunes, and I just found this fascinating. He's got his first set of decks of Santi when he was 14, and his first radio show at the same age on Kiss FM. And I remember calling him the night to tell him. I told him I had good news and I had bad news. And the bad news was that he had to tell Dad that I wasn't coming home. And the good news was that he got a show on Kiss FM. And like, I never heard someone so happy in all my life. My mum and dad used to let him take off school every Friday to go into Kiss FM, and they thought, well, you know what, it's investing in his DJ career. And all his friends from St. Mark's School used to listen in Mr. Bracken's art class on Fridays at 1 o'clock. He was extremely creative and always had an eye for unique and quirky style. I have fond memories of his jeans rolled up to his ankles, doing ninja rolls randomly wherever he could, and his amazing hairstyles, from his afro to his dreads and his big smiles and warm hugs. He had an insatiable love for music and making people feel good. He made people feel things, and Jesus Christ did we feel things. Someone described him as the Pied Piper of dance music, picking up mates wherever we'd go from venue to venue in the Dublin dance community. Toners of Baggot Street, the Tivoli, The Legal Eagle 1210, where all of us first met for the first time. The Cavern, the Pod, Sunday Style, and the Hub, Acid Disco, the Voodoo Lounge, Yes Festival in East Point. Electric picnic gigs and pies, our Prime Minister crew. Good times, man. A funny story from a friend. One night in traffic, he was blasting out the tunes during the face melter hour. The place was packed and it was absolutely hopping. And this fella made it up to the front of the DJ desk. And he was a bit worse for wear. But he was trying for ages to get Al's attention for a request. When Al eventually asked him what he wanted, he said, "A pint of Carlsberg." So many fond memories of Ibiza where he won a DJ competition. And he warmed up for Dave Clark at Eden, a highlight of his life. He was only 17. Our trips to Germany, Switzerland, and I Love Techno. I was your #1 fan, but I am sure many people in Dublin would argue with me for that title. Reminiscent of infamous McGruthers, a gorgeous tribute. Reminiscent of an infamous McGruthers and a gorgeous tribute last night where your friends shone your face so bright. Our hedonistic Sundays of fun with our friends. The Bora Bora of Dublin dance parties, our Sunday, our Mass, our religion, our community. You linked so many of us together. Alan absolutely lived and breathed for Martina. When Alan met Martina, it was magical and it was instant love. A love you could actually feel and see. They were a couple that did everything together, and I remember meeting Martina at a beach party in Donaghbane and she told me she fancied my brother. Do you remember that? And I was actually delighted for him because I knew he fancied you as well. A few weeks later they headed off to Ibiza where they kissed for the first time, and I actually think within hours they were telling each other they loved each other. She shared with me a poem that he wrote for her, and he wrote many, and I hope that they'll be shared eventually. A poem for Martina. Through the messy, muddled, thoughtless thoughts of nothing, too important comes the only thing that matters. Your face, your face, your face, that song comes to light. As your smile in my mind makes me happy, and among my scattered late-night muddled train of thought, where everything is uncertain, I think of you and you make me smile. He was so creative and so talented. Alan is an incredible father. He adored his kids, Evie and Seímí, and spent all day with them drawing pictures, riding skateboards, and generally just having the crack. Everyone always commented on how he was with their kids as well. I heard lovely stories this week about how Alan just randomly gifted a little girl hair chop because her mammy said she couldn't have hair dye in her hair. A big hit with all the kids in the flats, and I know he was called Cool Al. His daughter Evie loved him dearly, and she asked me to share with you guys a letter from her daddy, to her daddy. Dear Daddy, remember all the fun adventures we had. You loved when we swam and we played dolphins. We loved to go to the Phoenix Park and the zoo. Remember rolling down the hill. We loved that, and we will miss you. We loved all the things you did with us. Remember we pushed the pie into your face. It was so funny. Your eyes were everywhere and you were crazy. We had such fun in Australia, and you taught me how to stand up and swing on a swing. I love you, Daddy. Alan will always shine bright for you, Evie and Seímí. When you look into the sky and see the brightest star, that's your daddy. And he'll always, always be with you, okay? Always. Over the past couple of days, we've witnessed an outpour of grief from so many friends and family, that are just heartbroken to lose such a wonderful guy. A guy who brought everyone together. I'd like to thank you all for your support at this time. This is so bittersweet for us. Alan will never know how many friends he has. Some of his last years were overshadowed with depression and self-doubt. He was such a loyal person and stood up for what was right, even if it meant that he himself stood alone. and I wish he could see now how many friends he actually had. Our family will never be the same today. I would like to ask you to reach out to someone and tell them you love them and how amazing they are. Do it today, because these are hard times of isolation and mental health is not good for people right now. The whole earth is crying to breathe in the pandemic. We are here lost in limbo, and Al has smoke bombed out the stage door for his long rested sleep. And so it ends here. The lights have come on, the bar is closed. No one more tune. There is no party without people, and certainly no party without you, Alan. Your passing has brought so much of our community together at a time when we are all so isolated. I just wish you were here to see. Schlamp and sleep well, my beautiful little brother. I hope you're having a lovely buzz wherever it is that you are. Say hi to Bobby, the Johns, Molly and Mary Jane, and have a shimmy with Andy Weatherhall. Night night, sleep tight. From Dublin, with love. I love you so much.
I asked Martina about what items would be brought today that reflected that if you've seen these things, you'd look at them straight away and you'd go, I'll keep them, you know. And one of them we will see here on the floor are the Nike runners. So apparently Al had a pair of Nike runners that he absolutely loved and wore them until they were literally threads on his feet, and they gave up and said, we need to go to the bin, dude, you know. And so he bought this pair of Nike runners. So badly did he want them, they were size too small. But he was having them nonetheless. So they're there, they're good, obviously reminding of good times, and they're here with us today. And we have the paddy cap, apparently, which an item of clothing that Al has decided in the last few years that he was to wear. And again, this became another distinctive mark of, this is Al Keegan when you see him walking down the street. And his Mr. Happy jacket apparently was a little bit too small when he bought it. However, Seímí will benefit from that. And the last piece probably sums up Al all the more. A hat made with the kids. Totally about creativity, totally about lights, lots of yellow in there, and that was worn with pride, because look at that, how could you not wear that with pride when you make that with your kids? And these are all the things and many more that when we see them, we go, definitely that's Al Keegan, definitely that's him, that's who he was, that's how he rolled, and that's how we recognised him in so many ways. Somebody described Al as an architect, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant until he told me that it was how he envisioned things and how he made them come to life. Could see something in his mind and made it happen. Brought people together in spaces and created frameworks for people to be who they were in those spaces, in the same way that Al was living his life. Very, very, very special gift indeed, to be able to connect with people in that way. They also described him as a humble architect because he didn't blow his own trumpet. People talked about Al Keegan in that word of mouth way that we might be familiar with on social media now, but it was before social media took a hold. It was people talked about Al Keegan from one person to the next. And he delivered constantly, totally delivered. So we have a small piece of music now, just to let us reflect for a moment on these memory items and remember those fun parts of Al. I have it here for you if you want to. Oh, you have it there.
I have only just lost you. The pain is hard to bear. Do I have to go through life knowing you're not there? Please, someone explain to me why he had to go. Are there any reasons that I really need to know? I sit here and remember all the lovely times we shared. The talks, the laughter, and of everyone you cared. I'm told the pain will ease in time and I will think of him without a tear, but that will be impossible as I need to have him here. He was my very world, my ever-guarding star. Just kiss me softly on the cheek and tell me where you are. I love you, Al.
True colour indeed. Tributes have poured in for Al from all around the world. I've seen some of them on Facebook. Some people have sent me stuff, and I'm so touched, more than I can say, what the impact that this man has had. And I just want to share some of them with you, because it shows us the many sides and the many facets of Al. And he was a husband who loves his wife and his kids more than life itself. A big brother who poked fun, helped with homework, and was a role model to a young, impressionable boy. He was a good child. He was a good child who went to bed himself, saving his parents the bother of cajoling him. He was a visionary who saw the potential in rundown places, made them vibrant, and brought people together. And some of them even stayed together. Apparently, Al Keegan is responsible for several marriages, including his own. Al Keegan, the king of Dublin, back in the day before social media spread the word of mouth coverage that Al Keegan got was unprecedented. Al Keegan believed in people, brought people together, created a vibe and a spirit that was uniquely Dublin. Al Keegan lit up a room, always had time for people no matter what. He played his decks on his hands and knees for hours so the show could go on. And Al Keegan was the reason that half of Dublin danced. Beautiful, beautiful tributes for a wonderful, wonderful man. We know on a spiritual level that Al will always be watching over us. He'll always be there guiding and protecting his loved ones. He'll always be the guardian angel to one and all, and the impact of knowing Al will live much longer than today's celebration of his life. In challenging times we're immersed in today, some of you will not have had a chance to say goodbye the way that you would have liked. I know it's not how Martina and his family would have wanted this celebration to go. So today, it's also a day for memories, and we'd like you now just to take a moment, for the people who are physically here and for the people who are tuning in, just take a moment to think about that one memory of Al Keegan that you hold dear to your heart. It might be a memory of how his relationship was with you as a family member, as a DJ, as a colleague, a son, a neighbour, however that was for you. Let's take this moment just to bring that memory into our hearts, because that memory, on days when it feels very difficult to bear the loss of Al, that memory is the memory that we cling on to help us to get us through those very, very, very challenging times ahead. We know that he has only slipped into the next room. Whatever we were to each other, we still are. Please call me by my old familiar name. Speak of me in the same easy way that you always did. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Think of me and smile. Let my name be the household name it always was. Spoken without the shadow of a ghost in it. Life means all it ever was meant. It is the same as it ever was. Death is inevitable, so why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, for an interval that is very near. Nothing is past or lost. One brief moment and all is as it was before, only better and happier, together forever. All is well. As we prepare to say our final goodbye to Al in this ceremony, I can only imagine the loss and the grief that you're feeling, and going forward the difficulty that you will face. But here again are some things that people have said, that Al Keegan was that thing. He had that quality that some of us may not be able to name, but we were affected by it in some way. Al is the person who brings people together in spaces he created and validates them and their essence, and he makes them feel that they matter. And Al is the person who speaks the language of divinity. We have something that Dad wants to say. Please come forward before we finish up.
father should ever have to speak at his own son's funeral, because that's just not the way it is. My beautiful son Alan has been taken from us this week, and as a family, we're devastated. Alan so loved his wife and kids, Evie and Seímí, that they were almost an extension of himself. He went almost nowhere without them. So I would ask everyone, please don't feel ill of my son. It's just that he lost his way for a little bit. And I'm so sorry, as his dad, that I could not have been there to hold his hand, or just to tell him that everything would be okay. So you sleep now, my beautiful son, because we will love you for the rest of our lives.
Before our final piece of music, wherever you're listening in from, wherever you are in the world, I want you to say with as much oomph that you can in your heart to thank Al Keegan for being Al Keegan and for making all of our lives better, for knowing him. Thank you, Al Keegan.
Shout